Namaste and welcome back to Mindful Serenity Yoga, or Waking Up in a Busy World. It's a very cool day out there in my part of the world. I'm not sure where you are at when you read this or hear this, but I'm hoping that you're nice and toasty warm and comfortable in whatever environment you're in. We are going to continue with our answering of questions within a 10-minute time frame, very soulful and spiritual questions. I do want to reiterate that the word spiritual is just that, a word, right? So we all have different connotations when we hear the word spiritual, and some of us will look at it as woo-woo nonsense. I want you to understand it more in a more practical way, as being a way of just tapping into that part of ourselves that we often tend to fail to recognize, and to see the world differently and with a deeper level of understanding. It is a going deeper more so than it is going woo-woo. I just want you to understand that before we continue. So anyway, I'm going to pull a question out, and I'm going to start my timer right away so that I can begin the process. And the question I answered, or I pulled out today, is what is yoga? What is yoga? I'm going to take a deep breath. And I will begin answering it. Yoga is something I am quite familiar with, or the teachings of yoga I'm quite familiar with, because I am a yoga teacher, amongst other things, and I have studied and practiced yoga many, many years before I actually became a certified teacher, or what we call a registered yoga teacher. I have been studying yoga in the sense that I've been studying not just the hatha component. A lot of times when we think of yoga in this Western society, we tend to think of it as the stuff we do on the mat when we go to a yoga studio, you know, the exercises, the stretching, the breathing techniques that we learn. That is one small component of yoga. Yoga actually has 8 limbs to it. So Ashtanga, and again I know there's another little realm of yoga called Ashtanga, but when I think of Ashtanga yoga, I'm thinking of the 8 limbs of what yoga is all about. The hatha component, what we know as to be yoga in this society today, is only one small component of it. Most of yoga occurs off the mat rather than on the mat. Yoga, the word itself, simply means union, or to unify. And when I think of the unifying, what sources are we unifying? We're unifying the mind, once again, with the body. And that's what we do with our Hatha component of yoga. We unify the mind, once again, with the breath. And that's what we do in the pranayama, another component of yoga. We unify the mind with the moment we're in, and that would be the meditative component of yoga, or the nidra. Yoga nidra is often loosely termed sleep yoga, but it is that yoga you do when you're doing the savasana component at the end of a practice or sequence, where you are truly relaxing into the moment and getting out of mind and body to just experience what it is to be alive. So we have that component as well with yoga, that unity. So we're unifying the mind with the body, the breath, and with the moment through our practice. But we're also doing something taking it a step further. We're trying to unify the mind with the self, the true self. And that really is the goal of all yoga, is to find, rediscover the true self within us, so we know who we really are. And when we reach that true self understanding, we actually realize how connected we are to everyone and everything on this planet. Beyond this concept of mind, beyond this concept we have of being our bodies, beyond this concept we have of past and future, beyond this concept we have of, the illusions that are around, what yogis would call the illusions around us, what's going on in our environment, the circumstances, the people that are coming, the emotions we're experiencing, the feelings, the thoughts, the events. Beyond all that is the realization of who we are and our connection with everything. Borders just disappear in true yoga. Now, I know that's complex. You don't want to hear that when you go for a practice, right? When you go join a studio and go for a practice, get on the mat, you just want that hour to be stretching, which feels really good, right? It feels good to stretch. It feels good to breathe, and you usually feel a lot better after a sequence or practice. You feel like you've accomplished something. You feel like you're reconnected to your body at least, and maybe have gathered more reconnection to your breath as well that you carry with you. You walk away with a little peace of mind. But yoga can take us a lot further than it does after that practice. It can take us to what we really, really need and want, whether we know it or not, is this peace of mind that is already within us. And it doesn't matter what's happening to us or around us. That peace of mind is who we are. And through a practice following the 8 limbs of yoga, and it involves several rules for living and several rules for not doing things that harm other people, for example, or honesty is in there, and a lot of rules for living, as well as the actual practice of connecting the mind with the body and the mind with the breath and the mind with the moment. So it has several different components to it. We also, in yoga, can take it a step further when we talk about concentration and meditation, which are the more deeper realms, or the deeper limbs of yoga. And with those, we are skipping out of this what Patanjali would refer to as the pseudo-reality that surrounds us. Beyond he also called them the modifications of the mind, the mental modifications. Without the mind rippling, he said, you will have yoga, because yoga is everything that is underneath all the things we assume as reality, I guess. So through concentration and meditation, we can take it a step further into that self-realization. And from that self-realization, it is proposed that we can reach samadhi, which is the ultimate state of yoga. In a sense, it's where we reach that peace of mind, that connection with everything and everyone, and we realize there's no distinction between us and other things in this world. And there is also something that we can achieve that is said to be almost magical in our terms. We can, advance beyond our limitation of being stuck in a body, and, experience telepathy and telekinetics and all kinds of things. And we're not even going to go there, and I don't go there yet when I'm talking about yoga. Yoga is the union between us and the world around us. It is the union that starts in the mind, because the mind is kind of like a filter that manifests everything that we're seeing and experiencing. So with this type of understanding in mind, we say that when we get to the mat, our purpose is to relax the body, is to bring our awareness away from the 60,000 thoughts a day that are pounding in our heads, and our stress and our connection and attachment to this busy world around us. And it brings us away from that back into the body, because when we're up there in the mind, we don't think of yoga. We're just so busy going that we're not connected to the body. We even forget that we have a body. Brings us back to the breath, which is the greatest anchor for bringing us back out of our mental modifications and back into the here and now in the body. It connects us to our ability to relax and be peaceful. Okay, so that's our goal when we come to yoga class, right? To stretch the body, become aware of the body, reconnect with the breath in the moment, and just relax. But it is much more than that. It is a connection to all we are, and it's almost impossible to explain in a 10-minute video what all that is, and I have yet to experience it. I'm just saying from what I've learned through reading Patanjali Sutras and from reading other yoga texts, and I've read many, and from understanding this whole idea of we're all one that comes basically from yoga. So it's a complex word, it's a complex practice, it's a complex state of being, but it is possible for all of us. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much. Namaste.